The crop takes 6 years to grow, and it could be as much as $100 on the plate. It's very expensive. Geoducks live for an extremely long time. There's geoducks that can live over 100 years. There is very limited areas that geoduck grow. I mean, it's native to just this area, and the markets in Asian communities, they seek high dollar.
Imagine a clam so valuable it's treated like a treasure of the sea. 1 pound of geoduck can sell for up to $100, but the reason has nothing to do with rarity alone. Divers risk freezing waters, spend hours digging through thick sand, and still harvest just a handful. Why does this bizarre clam with a 3-foot-long trunk command the price of luxury steak? Today, you'll see the exact hurdles that turn an oddly shaped mollusk into one of the world's most expensive seafoods.
Geoduck is a very sought-after species. It's a native burrowing clam in the state of Washington. It's actually the largest burrowing clam species.
And one of the biggest things you're going to see is this curling. A super fresh geoduck is going to curl like this. It doesn't really need anything.
We are one of the largest players in the farmed geoduck space. We are targeting somewhere around 1 million pounds a year.
Picture a clam that spends its life buried under 2 or 3 feet of packed sand, yet sells for more per pound than many cuts of steak. It isn't flashy to look at, but the geoduck's odd design and secretive habits make it one of the most remarkable shellfish in the Pacific. What sets this clam apart is the body. The shell seems undersized, almost like it belongs to another species, while the soft siphon stretches out more than 3 feet in length.
The crop takes 6 years to grow, and it could be as much as $100 on the plate. It's very expensive.
We have different gradings of geoducks, from number 3s all the way up to number 1s. Obviously, this is a number 1.
Our hatchery, to the nursery, to the beach, to the processing plant, all of it's done by hand.
That siphon is the lifeline of the animal, reaching to the surface for water while the body stays hidden. Think of it like a diver using a snorkel. You only see a small opening above, while the rest lies unseen below. Add in the fact that some geoducks live longer than a human lifetime, and you start to understand how unusual they are. But that lifespan and growth rate also add to the challenge.
The geoduck at this stage are living in sand. There's about 1,000 geoduck or so in each one of these trays.
Good weight, perfectly fine and healthy, but you'll see the discoloring. And in my opinion, it's not going to affect the quality of the meat whatsoever.
Like a clam or an oyster, they have siphons. One half of their siphon is actually pulling in food and clean water, and then their other side is their discharge.
Unlike smaller clams that can reach size quickly, geoducks develop slowly, inch by inch in the cold currents. That pace means once they're harvested, it takes years before a bed can recover. Most people will never glimpse one in the wild because they don't sit near the surface. Only their siphon tip betrays their presence, and even then, it's easy to miss. They're found only in certain parts of the Pacific coast. The sea floor needs the right mix of sand depth, water temperature, and current flow. Too much silt or too much rock, and the animal simply won't thrive. This limited environment builds natural scarcity. And while you might farm clams like littlenecks in a couple of years, geoducks demand 6 to 7 years of steady care before they're ready for market.
The geoduck at this stage are living in sand. There's about 1,000 geoduck or so in each one of these trays.
Good weight, perfectly fine and healthy, but you'll see the discoloring. And in my opinion, it's not going to affect the quality of the meat whatsoever.
Like a clam or an oyster, they have siphons. One half of their siphon is actually pulling in food and clean water, and then their other side is their discharge.
So these clams aren't just another catch. They're rare products of their home waters, tied to place and time in a way few other foods are. Now that you see how biology and habitat create value, let's turn to the people who step into cold seas and put in the work to bring them up. Imagine dropping into water that hovers just above freezing, the world around you cloudy and hard to see. In your hand is not a net or a rod, but a hose blasting water strong enough to carve through sand. You're down here for one reason, a geoduck buried deep beneath your fins, hidden under layers of seafloor that won't give it up easily.
So geoduck in particular, their shells are really brittle, especially when they're small. It's really important to handle them very carefully from this stage on. Geoducks have a unique shell that protects their organs. They've taken low pressure water and they've sifted the sand out and let the geoducks fall onto this netting.
To start the hunt, divers have to reach the right depth where these clams thrive. It's often the middle of winter, with cold currents pushing against every move. The work is steady but unforgiving. One wrong breath or an awkward kick makes it harder to control the equipment, and control is everything. The dangers aren't small. Imagine turning your head and seeing almost nothing in front of your mask. The water clouds up, the current shifts, and your body responds to the cold with shock that's tough to fight through.
And what they're doing is they're going through and they're identifying geoduck that's alive, it's healthy, it's in good condition. They're pulling out any dead shell, any debris. And in size, there's been geoducks that have been found to be over 20 pounds in certain areas. So they can get really big and live a really long time. There's very limited areas that geoduck grow. I mean, it's native to just this area. And the markets in Asian communities, they seek high dollar.
On top of that, the clam itself has a thin shell. Drive the hose too close and you crack the very thing you came for. Too shallow, and you never reach it. Every motion has to be precise. The tool they carry is a high-pressure water jet. It's aimed at the sand to loosen it just enough so the diver can dig by hand. But sand is heavy. Pushing it aside foot by foot is slow and draining.
They're not like a type of clam that gets up and walks and moves and finds a new home. It is where you plant it is where it stays for its entire life. Geoducks live for an extremely long time. There's geoducks that can live over 100 years.
When you stomp, the ducks will respond and they'll dig down, which will make a little hole, make them easier to find. So you stomp around, scare them, they retract their necks, and you got it.
Hours on the bottom might win you just a handful of clams, each one costing sweat and breath. Add to that the limits of the season. These harvests only open for a short span each year, and strict quotas decide how much can be pulled. Bad weather can erase whole days of work, shutting down an entire crew.
The traditional way of harvesting geoduck is doing it underwater, diving. Either way, they're using a low velocity sea pump.
Gently, try not to blast the duck directly or you'll break it. And all you're doing is adding water to the beach, pretty much all done by touch. And so the guys get a really good feel for the ground and how the water's moving through their hands as they get it down into the sand.
Once they surface, the clock starts again. The clams are cooled and shipped fast, within a single day, so they arrive alive on the other side of the ocean. That mix of risk, labor, and control explains why 1 pound is worth so much. With that price earned in sweat, it's time to see what it says about how we treat luxury from the sea. The cost of geoduck isn't about rarity on paper. It comes from how long they take to mature, how exact the conditions must be, and the risks people face to bring them up from the seafloor. That means every pound carries years of careful waiting and tough labor behind it. So when you see geoduck on a menu, you're not only paying for a clam. You're paying for time, endurance, and survival against the cold Pacific. If this gave you a new respect for what's pulled from the water, subscribe and join me again as we uncover more hidden costs.